Welcome back. The GSD has committed itself to reversing any decision to site a football stadium at Europa Point. It said it would do this whether the project obtains planning permission or not, as it feels it would not be the best decision for the community. It feels it's not true to say there's no alternative to Europa Point, a site which it feels is iconic and of huge importance from a social, cultural, historical and environmental perspective. Christine Vasquez spoke to GSD leader Daniel Feetham.
Let's remember that the reason why it's done here is because the government has said and the GFA have said that there is no other alternative. That is simply not the case. Victoria Stadium could easily be upgraded to a Cat 3 stadium at very little cost. And of course UEFA rules provide that where there is no Cat 4 stadium and there is a Cat 3, that you can play your football in a Cat 3 stadium. So it's very easy to do that with Victoria Stadium, and you could have UEFA Cup football in Gibraltar.
Well, of course, Victoria Stadium is at the moment multi-purpose. If you were to use that for football, wouldn't you have to build another stadium somewhere else anyway?
No, you wouldn't, because we're talking about a site so that the GFA could play its national games. They could be played at the Victoria Stadium, and indeed we've had a number of friendlies at Victoria Stadium. Look, the debate is about, as I understand it, is about, well, the GFA at the moment cannot play its UEFA Cup football here in Gibraltar because it doesn't have a minimum Cat 3 stadium. Victoria Stadium isn't a Cat 3. We've got to balance limited resources, and at the end of the day, Victoria Stadium can be upgraded to a Cat 3 and can be used for the GFA so that they can have and host UEFA Cup football in Gibraltar, which is what everybody, including the GSD, wants to see.
You advocate the relocation of Bayside schools so as to be able to expand Victoria Stadium. Now, are you open to alternatives?
Well, of course you're always open to alternatives. I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody comes to me and says, well, actually, there are better plans than yours for a football stadium, well, fine. I mean, we are open to looking at that. But we put a lot of effort into this. We've consulted very widely. We've thought about this very, very carefully. And, you know, our plans are long-term plans. In the short term, you can upgrade Victoria Stadium to a Cat 3 stadium so that you can have, almost immediately, I mean, very short time frame, UEFA Cup football at Gibraltar for the GFA. Then, of course, we have our education plans, which involve the relocation of Bayside to the Rook area, which then releases all that land to be able to redevelop, not only redevelop Victoria Stadium into a Cat 4, but of course to use that land for other purposes as well.
Well, this is a GFA project that would need to be approved by the Development and Planning Commission. Don't you feel that government involvement would make a mockery of the planning process?
It doesn't make a mockery of the whole DPC process. I mean, at the end of the day, the DPC is here to decide whether this area that we see here is suitable on planning grounds for the siting of a national football stadium. It's completely distinct situations. One is planning, the other one is as a matter of priority and as a matter of good land use here in Gibraltar, bearing in mind the competing interests as to whether we use all this land for and the effect of it that it will have on the surrounding area for a national football stadium, or do we actually use Victoria Stadium that's there already, it's multi-purpose use already, to actually host Team 54 games in UEFA.
Premature of the GSD perhaps, when we know that there are new plans for the stadium and you haven't seen them yet?
Not at all, because I think that even if this area were to be, the stadium were to be made less intrusive, I just don't think that this area is the right area to site a national football stadium, particularly when Gibraltar is so small, when we have limited resources, where we've got to balance the use of those resources, and we have a resource like Victoria Stadium, which could be easily upgraded into a Cat 3. And there's also this as well. Under our plans, which are the short-term upgrading to a Cat 3, longer-term Cat 4, we'd be able to actually see what the demand is for a larger stadium. And I think it's important in Gibraltar that we really think things through. I mean, you know, the idea of having a national football stadium is a good idea, yes. But hang on a minute. Let's just take a step back, think it through, think about the consequences, and think about all these competing interests that every single government in Gibraltar has to obviously balance, and you've got to be responsible. And our plans is about being responsible, a responsible government. That's what it's about.
If planning permission is granted, works to create residential and commercial premises as well as parking facilities could begin in September at the old Naval Grounds site. Commercial Developments Investments Limited is behind the multi-million-pound project, but they have to get the approval of the Development and Planning Commission before they can break ground. The government issued a statement after renegotiating the agreement the company entered into with the previous GST administration in 2007.
Commercial Development Investments had been granted a development licence by the GST government to develop residential, office and commercial premises, as well as a car park on the site of the old naval grounds. This deal was criticised by the GSLP Liberal government when in opposition, claiming Crown lands had been sold for under market value. In the renegotiation, the government has secured the return by CDI of approximately 3,000 of the over 11,000 square metres to which it had previously been entitled to develop. The premium paid to the previous administration has not been reduced. Under the development agreement, CDI will also construct a multi-storey car park to accommodate large coaches, mini-coasters and taxis, as well as providing a further 1,000 car parking spaces for the public and a limited number for sale. The government says the project will also allow them to deliver their manifesto commitment of providing double the amount of car parking spaces as was previously available at what is now Commonwealth Park, as well as an additional green area linking the new development to the park via the King's Bastion Leisure Centre. Welcoming the investment, the Chief Minister said he was pleased to have driven a hard bargain in the interests of the community. And after having had the project on hold for so long, CDI says it can now focus on its application to the DPC and its aim to deliver a world-class development in a prime location in Gibraltar. Subject to approval, the demolition and dismantling of the existing structures will start after National Day this year, with construction to follow immediately after.
This week, Natwest Gibraltar announced 15 potential job losses as part of an ongoing strategic review. The bank is part of RBS International and is now ending its association with the Gibraltar Local Clearing Service. As a result of the changes, Natwest customers will notice transactions appearing one day later on their statements, but interest will be paid earlier. Meanwhile, the GST has expressed concern over the job losses and says it will be reviewing the matter in the next few days.
In a statement issued this morning, RBS International's CEO Adrian Gill announced changes designed to make RBS a smaller, simpler and smarter bank. But what that means locally is that there will be potentially 15 employees who will be leaving the business in Gibraltar. 15 potential redundancies. It's not yet clear whether these will be voluntary, forced or a combination of both. Mr. Gill says the bank's trying to focus on its two key customer segments, retail and international personal banking and corporate and markets, supported by a single central infrastructure. It is very much a regret that we will have to lose good and loyal people, says the RBS boss, confirming that the changes will result in some redundancies. Individual discussions have reportedly been held with all the affected staff. Mr. Gill says the bank will support them throughout the process. Natwest claims the changes will enable it to remove duplication and inefficiencies across its brands and businesses and deliver better services for its customers.
The Gibraltar Heritage Trust is challenging the government's proposal to install a lift at the Parliament building, claiming the move should not be allowed under the Heritage Trust Act. The Trust says the installation of a lift as proposed would impair the integrity and character of the building, and they cannot therefore support the current plans. The Trust acknowledges that it is important for there to be access for people with disabilities, but it is of the view that this could be achieved without affecting the external appearance of this public building, which it says is of historical significance to Gibraltar and its people. Leisure Cinemas has reopened in digital and 3D. This follows major works undertaken by the company, totalling close to £200,000. Management is hoping to introduce more event cinema to the Rock, which will see the community involved in a number of interactive projects and unique cultural screenings at the cinemas. The continued evolution of the cinema-going experience has come to the Rock. It's been a frustrating few months, to say the least, for both patrons and managers of the leisure cinemas, who revealed that they did indeed lose business from the lack of new films and therefore lack of cinema-goers. But that's all about to change. Gibraltar's moviegoers have a lot of catching up to do. And now the leisure cinemas have up-to-date technology.
There were just a few bureaucratic matters that needed to be sorted before we actually made the massive investment that we have done in order to bring the latest gear to Gibraltar. And it's taken, in that sense, it's taken longer than we had hoped to, but we look forward, and I think it probably turned out for the better, because most teething problems that have been experienced in the UK with the conversions from 35 to digital, we have now found that the major problems are no longer exist. So in a way, having taken that extra bit longer will ensure that we are less susceptible to problems.
The new equipment means more upkeep, which has meant ticket prices have gone up too.
We haven't changed our prices for at least 10 years now. We came from the Queen Cinema with 4 and 5, and we've had 4 and 5 going on since then. The time has come where we really need to step up and get closer to reality, and you know, the prices will be going up, but we are going to have a structure where before 7 they will be slightly cheaper, after 7 they go up, and obviously there's an extra charge for the 3D because of the work that it has entailed in the cleaning of the glasses, the hiding of the glasses and so on.
All films will now be shown in 3D except for Tuesdays, which will be in 2D. New state-of-the-art technology which has taken about a week to replace the old projectors.
The fact that it is digital allows you to bring in any content on hard drives or in the near future via the internet, but it's all very secure. It's all secured by keys and encoding to prevent any anti-copyright sort of people trying to sort of hack it or whatever. It's an extremely secure system.
And with this new technology, it means new releases will be arriving to Gibraltar on their intended release date. Good news for the Rock, when in this day and age, delays and plot leaks can ruin the movie-going experience.
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to be getting films on time, on release dates, and we're going to have the option of watching it in 3D or 2D, because some people don't really appreciate the glasses or the visual effects of 3D. So we're going to have both showings. And we've added a lot more showtimes as well. We have 5 showtimes on the weekend and 4 showtimes in the evenings and the rest of the week. So it's really exciting because people have always been complaining about late shows that they wanted and then earlier shows on the weekends, and we've filled the gap. And then over the next 3 weeks, we're going to be continuing updating the cinema. You're going to see a lot of technology out here. There's not going to be posters. It's going to be all screens, and we're updating our website so that we could buy tickets online, which is our biggest request.
It's been a long and at times agonizing wait, but finally Leisure Cinemas has gone digital. And not only that, but you'll be able to enjoy the latest films in 3D. Yes, prices have gone up, but the Leisure Cinema says that they need to be realistic and account for more cost in terms of keeping this new equipment running for years to come. And you can also still have the choice of the traditional 2D screenings. But that's not all. Leisure Cinemas want to introduce event cinemas, which means not just watching the latest releases, but something a little bit more different. Older films perhaps, maybe even live broadcasts right in our screens, the ones you can see behind me. And as you can see, people are already queuing up with just the first day of the new Leisure Cinemas going 3D and digital here in Gibraltar. Also this week, Verdemar Ecologistas en Acción will be sending the EU further information to support its complaints against Gibraltar's East Side project. New £15 silver circulating coins are to be issued, and the SDGG announced details of this year's National Day rock concert. For the rest of this week's news, you can head over to our website, gbc.gi/news. Don't forget to tune into Radio Gibraltar and GBC Television throughout the week for the very latest local news. And you can also follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Thank you very much for watching from the team. Good night.